This mother gave up her life as a wealthy young lady for love, following her husband to the barren and arid West, and becoming a farmer's wife. As children were born one after another, her entire life became completely bound to this place. The girl Sibylla cannot understand the choice her mother once made. Sibylla has great ambitions, she loves writing, and hopes to rely on her own abilities to change her impoverished life. Watching her mother and siblings busy themselves just to survive, Sibylla remains unmoved and never goes to help. She plays a badly out-of-tune piano to escape from reality. The piano was the most valuable dowry her mother brought into marriage. Yet now Sibylla is the only one who uses it. Her mother tries to persuade Sibylla, hoping that now as an adult, she can support herself and ease the family's burden. She also says she has already asked around in town and found Sibylla a job as a maid. But Sibylla's ambition is not to be a maid, and she firmly refuses her mother's proposal. Fortunately, a month later, Sibylla receives a letter from her grandmother, inviting her to stay at her home for a while to broaden her horizons and experience more of the world. Sibylla, who longs to escape, feels overjoyed. The carriage arrives at the station a day later, and the family butler Frank comes to greet her. Her grandmother and unmarried aunt are both very excited about Sibylla's arrival. Life at her grandmother's home is prosperous, and everyone carries themselves with elegance. Compared to her own alcoholic father's crude behavior, Sibylla cannot help but feel a deep sense of contrast. That night, Sibylla stays in the room her mother once lived in, and looking at photos of her mother when she was young and equally elegant, Sibylla feels even more sorrowful. Her aunt gently comforts her. Here, Sibylla also begins to live a life of high society. Every morning, servants dress her hair and carefully tend to her rough hands. Before long, Sibylla undergoes a transformation and becomes a graceful young lady. The butler Frank often shows her special attention. On the surface, Sibylla remains polite, but once she turns away, she throws the flowers Frank gives her into the pond. Her grandmother does not want Sibylla, now of marriageable age, to repeat her mother's path. She tells Sibylla that it is time to find her a suitable husband. One day, Sibylla hums a tune while sitting high in a tall tree, picking clusters of locust blossoms, when a young man passing by is drawn over by her singing, mistaking Sibylla for a newly arrived maid. The young man helps her down from the tree and kindly gathers the fallen blossoms for her. At dinner that evening, Sibylla's uncle returns from out of town with a guest. The man standing before her turns out to be the very young man she encountered beneath the locust tree that afternoon. The young man's name is Harry, and he is the son of one of her uncle's friends. During the meal, Sibylla playfully teases Harry, still holding onto the misunderstanding from earlier in the day, while Harry looks at her with visible embarrassment. At the gathering after dinner, Sibylla's lively and cheerful nature deeply captivates Harry, but early the next morning, her grandmother warns Sibylla, hoping she will pay more attention to her appearance and carry herself with greater grace and dignity, so as to attract the attention of gentlemen. Meanwhile, Frank misinterprets his close contact with Sibylla the previous night, believing she has feelings for him as well, and boldly confesses his love to her. He says that he is about to return to England to inherit a large fortune, and hopes that Sibylla will agree to become his wife. Sibylla pushes Frank away and rejects his confession outright. She has no desire to depend on a man to change her life. After learning that Frank will receive a great inheritance, her grandmother tries to persuade Sibylla, saying that Frank would be a good choice for her. Once in England, her life would be secure and comfortable, but Sibylla says no.
Well, it won't be me.
Oh, do be realistic, child.
Well, I am. To begin with, I don't love him.
You want to be a burden on your family forever, with no status in decent society or a home of your own?
I will not be married off to someone I detest by you or anybody.
At times I fear for you, my girl.
Her aunt also attempts to persuade her.
Your mother married for love. And I, too, married for love. My husband isn't dead. He left me for someone else. Left me to live the rest of my life with the shame of being neither wife, nor widow, nor maid.
But why should you be ashamed?
Marriage gives us respectability, dear. As you learn.
No, that is just what men want us to believe. Stupid idiots like Frank Horden. Well, I won't be caught up in it, not by him or anyone.
A few days later, as a gesture of courtesy, Harry arrives in a carriage to invite Sibylla to stay at his estate for a short visit. Harry's home appears even more grand and magnificent. Here, Sibylla encounters many new and fascinating things she has never seen before, and Harry accompanies her with great care and attention. On the gently rippling lake, the two young people share tender glances, both harboring feelings for each other, yet neither speaks them aloud. They share the same interests and have an effortless understanding. Though this is only their second meeting, it feels as if they have known each other for many years, as they freely laugh and play together without restraint. However, her mother's words serve as a reminder to Harry.
She was a precocious child. There's an improvement, but not much. Still skinny. She's very young, Harry, and spirited. Take care. Don't rush anything.
The next day, Sybilla's uncle arrives at Harry's home to take her away. Before parting, Harry tells Sybilla that he needs to travel for some time to handle business matters, but promises that he will seek her out the moment he returns. Back at her grandmother's home, Sybilla thinks of Harry constantly. She waits every day for the moment he will return. A month later, her grandmother hands an invitation to Frank and asks him to deliver it to Harry. When Sybilla learns that Harry has already been back for some time, she feels deeply deceived. She decides to follow Frank to confront Harry and demand to know why he broke his promise. Along the way, Frank relentlessly mocks Sybilla. Frank believes that Harry does not truly care for her, and that Harry's hesitation is not love at all. Furious after hearing this, Sybilla abandons Frank while he is opening the gate and drives off on her own. When Sybilla meets Harry again, he shows no particular enthusiasm, and Sybilla does not question him, leaving after only a few brief pleasantries. Unexpectedly, Harry catches up to her halfway and apologizes to Sybilla for breaking his promise. Beyond that, Harry says nothing more. Deeply hurt, Sybilla picks up her pen once again and continues her writing, using creation to calm her heart. Her aunt warns her not to take Harry too seriously. After all, the difference in their social status is far too great. She also mentions hearing that in Paris, many high society ladies compete for Harry's attention, as his family's business is extremely powerful. Sybilla tells her aunt that she understands her place and knows Harry will never marry her. She admits she once fell for him, but now she will never dwell on it again. Sure enough, at a social gathering, Harry is openly intimate with an elegant woman right in front of Sybilla. Throughout the entire evening, Harry deliberately keeps his distance from Sybilla. Sybilla looks displeased, and she tries her best to display her talents, hoping Harry will see her in a new light. Unable to breathe in such an atmosphere, Sybilla turns and joins the servants gathering next door, where she invites a young farmhand and dances joyfully without restraint. This sharp contrast fills the newly arrived Harry with jealousy. He strides into the crowd and forcefully pulls Sybilla away. Furious, he demands to know whether she is dancing with the farmhand just to get back at him, and Sybilla responds without holding back. Just as Sybilla waits for Harry to say something more, he once again leaves her, claiming he needs to attend to guests. Sybilla cannot understand what kind of feelings Harry truly has for her, with such constant closeness and distance. That very night, Harry comes downstairs beneath Sybilla's window, smoking heavily with a troubled mind. Sybilla goes down intending to apologize for her earlier behavior, and at that moment, Harry reveals the truth. He confesses that he has loved Sybilla deeply from the very first moment he saw her, but under pressure from his family, he never dared to confess his feelings to her. He explains that his recent trip to Paris was actually to deal with his father's bankruptcy. Now that their family business has collapsed and he has nothing left, he deliberately distanced himself from Sybilla. Upon learning the truth, Sybilla lets go of all her doubts at once. She says they can work together to create a better future. However, she asks Harry to give her 2 years, and if their feelings remain unchanged after those 2 years, she will marry him without hesitation. At that very moment, a letter arrives from her father in the distance, revealing that he owes a farm owner a debt of £500 and is unable to repay it. After years of support, her grandmother and uncle are utterly disappointed in Sybilla's father this time. Her father asks Sybilla to return home and work as a governess for the farm owner's family to repay the monthly interest. Sybilla is deeply dissatisfied with her father's decision, yet she does not want to trouble her mother, so she reluctantly agrees. The farm owner's household is filled with many children who are extremely difficult to manage, and the environment is dreadful, making this crude and filthy family leave Sybilla feeling helpless. When Sybilla tries to teach a young boy proper table manners, the farm owner says they do not need so many rules, and that bringing in enough money each day matters more than anything else. The children are also extremely mischievous and dislike studying, and when they provoke her, Sybilla ignores the mistress's scolding and disciplines them with a stick. This kind of life appears to hold not the slightest hint of hope. What makes her feel even more hopeless is a letter from her grandmother telling Sybilla that her younger sister Gertie has also recently been brought to live at the grandmother's home. Gertie is very obedient, gets along extremely well with Frank, and Harry has successfully inherited his aunt's fortune and often goes on outings with Gertie. Sibylla wants to write a letter to Harry to confirm the truth, but the moment she lifts her pen, she tears the letter apart. One evening, out of sheer boredom, Sibylla has a chance encounter with the farm owner's eldest son, and they exchange only a few words. The next day, the mistress of the house approaches Sibylla, having misunderstood that Sibylla has feelings for their eldest son.
And that you're being a good girl.
It'd be different if you had some property.
You see, our Peter, he's almost as sure as made it was Susie Duffy.
What are you talking about?
Oh, we've seen you going out at nights.
We can't say we blame you. He's a good-looking lad.
But you don't have any property, you see, like I said.
You don't think that... You can't.
Sibylla feels deeply humiliated. It turns out that even a family like this would not consider her, and she suddenly begins to doubt her own worthlessness. Soon after, however, the farm owner decides that he will no longer pursue the matter of interest. When Sibylla's father becomes financially stable, he can repay the debt then. In order to prevent Sibylla from falling in love with their son, they terminate her employment. Sibylla suddenly bursts into tears of joy, as this is exactly the outcome she had hoped for. After going in circles and returning to her own home, Sibylla seems to become a different person, doing her best to help her parents with all kinds of heavy labor. Unexpectedly, a year later, while Sibylla is busy caring for a calf, she fails to notice Harry appearing behind her. It is not until Harry calls out her name that she realizes he is there. Sibylla feels as if she is dreaming and cannot believe what she sees. She straightens her messy hair and pretends to be calm as she looks at the man she loves. Harry tells Sibylla that his aunt hopes for him to marry. Sibylla says that Gertie is indeed a very good match, and after saying this, she quickly runs away. But Harry says that the person he wants to marry is Sibylla, not Gertie. Sibylla is clearly stunned by his words, yet she thinks of how she has nothing, and she does not want to rely on Harry to live her life. Deep in her heart, she has always held onto a dream of becoming a writer, and she wants to become strong on her own before considering marriage. Harry cannot understand Sibylla's way of thinking and can only leave helplessly. From that moment on, Sibylla's heart finally settles. After finishing exhausting household chores each day, she quietly sits down and continues her writing. Another year passes, and Sibylla carries the work she has painstakingly created over these years to the postbox, sending them to major publishing houses in Paris. These works are her foundation and her hope. No matter what outcome awaits her, she continues to persevere.